Okay, so we are going to be looking for a short or a parasitic drain in the Jeep. I'm doing this because it's happening to me. So the symptoms are basically my Jeep keeps dying, but not super quickly. It takes around 3 days pretty much to the point where it's sitting, nothing's on, and then it won't start. I jump it, it jumps fine. The starter turns over. I test the current running from here, from the alternator to the battery, and I'm getting good voltage, and once it's running, it runs. So the alternator's fine. So we know that the battery's an issue and something's killing it slowly when everything is supposed to be off. So what you're going to need is you're going to need a multimeter that can read amps, specifically the 10 amps DC. And you're going to need to make sure that you have the red line from your multimeter in this port and black line in the COM port so we can read it. So what we're going to do is disconnect the terminal. Right here, the negative one, this should be a 10 millimeter. We're going to disconnect it and then read the current between the two and systematically pull out different things to see when the current drops to a low enough value. So we'll start with that. One other thing I forgot to mention that you can use to test quickly if you have a short is while it's off, if you touch it and you see spark, did you guys see that? You see that? So that obviously means that current is trying to flow through the system. Now it's okay if there's a little bit because you have stuff that's always running, right? Like the clock in your radio presets. But like something that big, that shouldn't be happening. So we definitely have a draw, parasitic draw. And so we're going to go over how to find that. Hard right now to do both these at once, but so I'm measuring the current right here. And I just lost a good connection. But I had about 0.2 volts that I was reading. Maybe 0.02. Okay, so right now actually, this is good actually. So basically this is such a low current draw that this could just be normal stuff draining it like the clock and the radio. But that's because I'm pretty sure I already disconnected whatever the problem is because I already happen to have a good idea. But so basically what you're going to want to do, I'll go through and replug so you guys can see when it is drawing current. But basically if you have no idea what's drawing current, you'll get a current reading right away when you're measuring, again, between here and here where they're disconnected. That means current's flowing. And what you're going to do if you have no idea is systematically pull fuses. And when all of a sudden that current drops a lot, that's how you know what your short is. So like if you pull this fuse and all of a sudden there's no more current draw, it's the HVAC system. It's labeled here. And there's also the fuses, remember, behind the glove box. So you got to check those too. And then once you do that, you finally know what your parasitic draw or short is. So let me hook my stuff back up real quick and see what happens. So I got my rear view mirror plugged back in, and look at this, 0.3 volts. You want probably 0.05 or less should be an acceptable number. That could just be, minor things. So this is too much. So I gotta go back through all my wiring and find out where the short is in this rear view mirror temperature sensor that I wired. And I'm going to diagnose. I got one other thing unplugged. I got the interior light fuse. So like, when you open the doors and the lights turned on, I'm going to switch those and see if that might be a problem too, because that's my other bet. But yeah, so I know what the problem is just like that. And obviously it can be a little more work if you got to go through pulling fuses. I kind of had an idea what was probably causing my problem, but yeah, that's what you got to do.